there. So to get us started, today on the panel, I have, like I said earlier, a phenomenal group of women who, with them comes a barrage of experience. These women have moved mountains in tech, they've moved mountains in human resource, they've moved mountains in business, in the business realm. So today, we're just super excited to be able to tap into their knowledge, to tap into their wisdom, to tap into all the amazing things that they have gone ahead to do. I feel like I don't even know how to introduce them because your resumes are okay. But yeah, let me humble myself. I'll start with Paula Mugisa. Paula Mugisa is a business coach and also the founder of Tessa Advisory Services. She is a business development consultant and coach, and she's done this for over 10 years, supporting micro, small, and medium enterprises in Africa to ideate, start, grow, and of course, see their businesses grow. Notably, she has developed enterprise course curriculums, including High Innovator Program and Enterprise Project by the National Social Security Fund. I'm sure many of us have had a chance to hear about that. She is also the host of a podcast, the Business Tool Workshop, streaming on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. And in 2018, she founded Tessa, an education technology, rather edtech skilling marketplace for African workforce. Paula, you are very welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Juanita.
Awesome. And therein we have Aretha Kevirinji. She's a senior software engineer. Aretha is a senior software engineer consulting local and international clients in the design and development of world-class software products. Her experience spans over a decade of work in the banking sector at the Bank of Uganda, academic research for Carnegie Mellon University, and software development for companies including IBM and Andela. She's keen on bringing Africa ingenuity to the world and offering pathways for more young women to pursue and thrive in STEM careers. Aretha, you are super welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Juanita. Glad to be here, and happy Women's Day, everyone.
Oh, such a love the hair.
Thank you.
And yes, last but not least, we have Annette Kijagure. She is the head of business, NFT Consult. She's passionate about empowering human potential through her leadership as the head of business operations at NFT Consult, a firm building the operational capacity of businesses across South and East Africa. She has over 15 years of experience in human resource and operations and regularly contributes to the development of economic empowerment programs for women through mentoring, networking, and skill building in her role as Secretary of the Business and Professional Women's Network in Kampala. You're very welcome, Annette. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and happy Women's Day.
Yay! Happy Women's Day to you two lovely ladies. Now, to just jumpstart us quickly into this conversation that we're having today, if you missed it, our theme for this year's Women's Day 2023 is Embracing Equity. Now, maybe for us to just get started with something a little bit more light, and we'll also love to hear from you, our audience, if you've just joined us. And it's okay if you're also a gentleman, you can just pitch in. Ladies, can you identify a scenario in your past? It could be both personal or professional, where you noticed that there was a need for equity, and how did this situation shape you or your career where you're at the moment? Annette, would you like to go first?
Thank you, Juanita. Mine is not in the recent past, but about 5 years ago. And this was in terms of employment. So being in HR, you typically put out adverts, attract different people to come through and apply. And what happened is, among the candidates we did shortlist to interview, we had someone who was physically disabled. So then you're thinking, okay, how does this person get into a property that has a staircase? And then if they get on board, are toilet facilities applicable? Are we that employer who actually just doesn't say equal opportunity for everyone, but actually takes it on board and ensures when this person comes in, they're able to work productively? So what that did, and also since we're going through an ISO certification by then, we just redid all our policies to not only just mention, but be very intentional in terms of the people we get on board. So it's not about gender distribution or just including someone who's physically disabled, but intentionally ensuring that our policies on leave, our policies in terms of workplace safety, our policies in terms of the IT spec are very, very inclusive. So that for me really determined the way of work then, and still to date, it was a key learning. Thank you, Joanita.
Amazing. That must have been life-changing. I probably would have gone through the same wormhole. Well said, well said. Yes, Aretha.
I think for me, overall, my experience has been one, entering a field that was, at the time that I started, not very traditional. I was not starting at the same level as everybody else that I had the great opportunity to get an education with, because I had started to use a computer as an adult, not as a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old, like most of my classmates. And so without that practical experience, I was given an opportunity to bridge that gap. And this did not take away from my capability to actually do the work. But if I had not had people around me and professors around me that advocated for that and gave me that opportunity to be able to take a little bit more time, without penalty, to be able to, at the very least, start at a level comparable or close enough that it wouldn't compromise my ability to actually study and do the work. I don't think I would have pursued it further as, a career, just out of sheer frustration of not having the foundational skill set. So.
Wow, that must have been interesting. Yes, Paula.
Thanks, Joanita. I think for me, maybe similar to Aretha, the ecosystem for startups worldwide, but even in Africa, is dominated by men. So is the specific niche of advisory and skilling and entrepreneurship support organizations are also largely dominated by men. Men and or larger national organizations and development organizations. I think in one particular case, we were on a project to combine a series of different business curriculums and to aggregate them into one customized, Ugandan-focused with case studies and things for entrepreneurs. And there was a huge, I ended up discovering later on in the project that there was a huge wage parity as well as support for my organization, which is a startup itself and was being considered as not an organization, but as one person, whilst other larger organizations having multiple people, but being paid 10 times, 20 times what we were paid. The fees aside, I couldn't afford, whilst almost having a third of the project work, to onboard other people, other women, because of what we're being paid. And I stay thinking about how, well, not to be negative, but if there was a more due consideration for the weight of work and performance and what was required, even if it was just me or even if it was my small business and compared to the other organizations, we would have been able to do so much more and contribute much more and even give other women and other people a leg up in terms of being a part of the project. So I don't know if that's what came to mind. I don't know if I've answered the question right, but that particular scenario came to mind.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Thank you so much, Paula, for sharing. Thank you so much, ladies. And again, this question is open to our audience as well. If you do have a scenario that you remember that caused you for a second, yeah, it could be personal, it could be professional, that just for a second caused you to, desire equity, and just think through what could this situation have looked like if, and how has that situation somewhat changed you? Please go ahead to share in the chat section. We'll be reading those in a few. Now, to go back into our discussion today, our theme this year, it's inspiring us to embrace equity, which by all means is often misunderstood to mean equality. We're all familiar with equality because society has taught us to give everyone equal opportunities. But what is equity? And I would love to throw this over to our panelists. What is equity, especially in the spheres that you influence? What is equity in the business, in the business sector? What is equity in human resource? What is equity in the tech industry? I'll go ahead to ask Annette to start.
Thank you, Joanita. Equity for me, being in the HR and people space, is basically ensuring fairness. And this fairness is to give people the opportunity to be their best. If you're thinking organization spec, it has to be a win-win. It has to be a win-win for the employee you're bringing on board. Has to be a win-win for the supplier who you're giving that contract to. So basically, intentionally designing systems and processes and dealing with people in a way that is fair and enables them to attain their best. I think basically that would define equity for me. Getting the best potential out of every resource that you have. Yes.
Wow, well said, Annette. Thank you so much. You said something very critical there, and we'll jump on it as we go along. Yes, Aretha.
Yeah, I think very much in agreement with Annette. For me, when I think about equity, I think about what are the things that can be done, or those steps that can be taken to create more equalizers. So in terms of recruiting, for instance, for organizations, suppliers, if it might be, is there a deliberate intention to go outside of the circles that you are familiar with, or that come easily to you or your organization or your business, in order to actually create those equalizers? So I'll give an example. In 2019, I was part of a drive to recruit at least 1,000 women, either out of senior six or out of university, into a starting career in technology. And of course, if you did the typical thing, you would go to the institutions around the Central region, and you would, reach out to affinity groups, reach out to professors to try and recruit, if you will, those people. But when we started to really dig deep and assess the issues or to actually look at what we're trying to solve for, we are saying there are people that are outside of this immediate circle that actually have the capability. So we cannot say that we are creating a program that is all inclusive if we are not investing the time and the money to go outside of that immediate circle that would be the cheapest and easiest to tap into to actually recruit. So that saw us taking our drive to Mbale University, going up north, east, all over Uganda for the purpose of recruitment. And indeed, the pool of women that we, ended up with, joined those fellowships were such a diversity, and they've continued to be really successful. And also that success has now cascaded into new communities, right? And they can evangelize about, these careers, the potential of STEM, shake off the stigmas that women cannot do this and maintain, a family life and all of those other things. We'll talk more about that. But I think for me, it's really about focusing on creating those equalizing conditions.
Amazing, Aretha. Thank you. Thank you indeed. I hear you on the bit of, diversity that then, cascades into the different communities that also continuously grows in the different regions. And I think that in itself actually does speak into a lot of equity. Yes, Paula.
Thanks, Joanita. I'll just add on to what Annette and Aretha said. I agree with them in terms of fairness and creating equalizers. What I would add on is equity to me means due consideration. So due consideration for individuals' circumstances. So doing away with assumptions, doing away with biases, and then customizing solutions that are keeping in mind people's different circumstances and how to bring those that are lower to an even playing field to those who are above them, and then offering solutions at that point which offer fairness, which give everyone a more equal opportunity. Equity to me precedes equality, because as we all know, in this globalized economic climate where capitalism is thriving, we are already, many of us, not on the same playing field. And maybe just to bring my submission into context, in our field, when it comes to skilling and supporting entrepreneurs, we know that a majority of them in Uganda are outside of urban areas, and that's the same in any other African economy that's like ours. And so many times we say, the content is on the platform, the content is on the app, the content is free, the content is in audio, the content is in text. But even with all of those interventions that are somewhat intentional and considerate, there are many times still inadequate when it comes to the conversation of equity. And so now we're trying to be even more intentional, and are looking forward to do some of the things that precede skilling in business like we do. Many people are not literate. So that's a thing, that's a huge barrier. And we are not on a level playing field if we are not speaking the same language, or if skilling content is not delivered in the same language. Even when people are literate and they can read and write in one language, people are still not technologically savvy. And so how does a smartphone work, and what apps do you use, and how do you create research, leave alone, very expensive, low access to the internet? So if we could rise up more people to be literate and more people to use technology, and then get them onto the internet, and then now give them business education, we will have more people on a level playing field able to enter innovative products and services into the market.
Wow. That's what I can say. Wow. Best explanation. For sure. Definitely there is a need, and I think, like you've said, just a balance between equity and equality. They precede each other, and that balance is 100% critical, especially in the different spaces that we work as women. Now, let's just have a discussion concerning this conversation about equity, and I think Annette tapped a bit on it, the win-win type of situation for women in the spaces that each of us are in, say human resource, and say business, and then, women and money. How has there been, and I think let me start with the now, and then what we could do in the future. Right now, how is it for women when it comes to money in these spaces? Do they compete favorably, or are they at a disadvantage? And if they are, why do we think that's the case? Annette.
I believe we're all at a fair advantage. I can comfortably say that because, and going from the example of our financial sector, you see very good inclusion in terms of skilling women. We have women in business programs, women in business desks across different channels, even from the taxation body down to even the smallest group. You've seen those structures in place. The question is then, how effective are these structures, and are they actually sufficient to reach even the underserved person, say the person who's technologically challenged or someone who does not have access to power? What does that mean for them? Because you'll find many of these programs fit to purpose in the corporate or the educated environment. But the question would be then, how does it benefit that person in a local community who may not have the benefit of a higher education, but they have the mindset of saving, they have the mindset of being able to meet their costs? I mean, look at the woman trader in the market. They could be very financial savvy, better than even a corporate lady, because she knows at the end of the day, this is my capital, this is my cost, and tomorrow this is what I need for stock. So the question for me then is, how do we ensure inclusivity across different structures? But in terms of what we have, yes, it exists. Question and see how effective it is.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Annette. Yes, Aretha.
I think from looking at it from the pricing point of view, what I have definitely observed and also are guilty of is women will generally shy away from having the conversation about compensation. So be it from an employer, be it compensation for services rendered. So we normally will undercut ourselves in pricing, and we will not push as much in terms of negotiation. And I think part of this might be cultural, historical, in terms of the relationship that we have come to associate with money, capitalism, or whatever it might be. But then there is also an underlying, in many cases, undervaluing what you are providing. Undervaluing what you're providing to your employer, or undervaluing what you're providing as a service to, you know, another business or an individual. And so there is a lot of deprogramming that we need to do. And I think for me, I have found the most value having those conversations with male peers who actually are open about, you know, this is what I'm charging and this is what I'm able to get for the very same service that you're providing. Should be comfortable enough to have that conversation. I've learned a lot in terms of negotiating from them, because they just generally have had a lot more experience with it comparatively, but also it is not received with the same, I would say, biases when it is from a man. And so I think in solving for those underlying issues, I think we should generally come to see women, one, enjoy the financial freedom that they work so hard to get, and also really create a better relationship with money in all aspects of their life. It is not the enemy. It is good to like it. It is good to go for it. You're not, you know, a beast because you charge what you charge. Attach value. Be comfortable attaching a high value to the offering of your services, and don't feel like it makes you thirsty or greedy.
Wow. Yes, you have actually delivered that home. I wonder though, when it comes to a discussion about money and modesty, and Paul, I'm coming to you just a second, the conversation about the modesty when it comes to women and money, would it be, let me say, attached to culture? Do you feel like maybe say sometimes our culture predictates that, you know, you don't talk about money that much, and if you do, just be very modest about it? Do you feel like that's the case?
I think there is definitely a cultural aspect to it. And some of these things filter from, you know, our communities and filter into the workplace. We sort of cannot run away from it. So we come into places of work, business, you know, even as artisans, with that kind of attitude. So I'll give you an example. If, you know, you introduced everyone so beautifully, so wonderfully, you know, highlighting a lot of, you know, the work that, you know, we've done in different areas. And so if I introduced myself without a prepared, you know, bio, I would not have introduced myself as beautifully. And why is that? You know, that's also some of those are conversations and things that we need to work on in terms of deprogramming ourselves as women. Because then if I do it, tomorrow someone else feels comfortable doing it. So the more we do it, the more other people feel comfortable and allowed, or, you know, given that agency to do it. But I would definitely say it's very much a cultural thing. At least in Uganda, the thought that women are, you know, you are perceived as humility is very much as a you know, a woman. Oh, she's very humble. She's very humble. It's rare that you hear people say, "Oh, a man, he's very humble." They'll mention it in passing, but they normally say like, "Hey, Bambi, he's humble." You know, like it's almost like it has a bit of a negative connotation. While for a woman, they allowed it for being humble. So I think that's what you know, filters into the way we handle professional affairs as well. And we definitely do need to do the work to deprogram ourselves and become comfortable, more comfortable having those, you know, money talks.
Wow, thank you so much, Aretha. Well said, well said. Yes, Kola.
Aretha has said it so well. I don't know if there is more to add. Honestly, she's really explained it so well. I was just thinking how what she has said applies to my kind of work, where we support quite a lot of women in small business. How it plays itself is that we one of the services that we offer is one-on-one business coaching. And we do that in two ways: with established female founders running or starting business brands to enter services into the market and to create skilling curriculums. But what I have noticed more and more over the years is, even before you start to, you know, ideate, figure out how to sell, how they can customize their services, there's this entire conversation that has to happen with women of any age about if they're ready, if they can really do this, more so in the few conversations I have with men. There's almost like a permission giving, validation, reassuring, something that has to happen. And I've just started to come to accept that that is part of the business coaching with women. There is a lot of underselling, which Aretha spoke of, and even just in the ideas women are coming up with. So I'll speak to a woman who has a master's in construction management, has worked with the big 5 companies that do construction management, has professional certifications, has run projects on her own, does side projects, does all sorts of things, and sends you her bio before the call, and you're all really excited. You're like, oh, she's powerful. And then you get on the call and she's like, yeah, so, you know, I've been meaning to start this business for a while. And you're so excited. You're like, how cool would it be, you know, for this woman to run a construction management firm? And then she's building all these homes and all of these. And she's like, yeah, I wanted to start an events company with my sister. And I'm like, why? Why do you want to do that? Like, and, I just, especially I remember in 2020, I must have had over 100 calls, because that's when we launched our one-on-one business coaching. And, and then you have to, and then by the time you talk to her, anyway, long story short, she's like, oh, I see that, but maybe there's not so many people doing that, or we need a lot of money to get it off the ground, or, whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, raise her around, write a pitch deck, like my mind is, and she's like, no, I'm gonna do that. I thought about it. It's definitely where my passion lies and where majority of my skills lies and my experience. And these are the gaps in the market. And she's so knowledgeable, so articulate. I'm always literally dying every time that scenario happens, but it's something that I'm going to do later. And so, you have to have that conversation of just like, why doesn't every single second of every effort you put towards your work start with building the long-standing thing you really believe in? Not to say that the events company is not good, but I just feel, your strongest effort needs to go towards, another thing. And there, you make the case there are women who need it. There's a gap, you have, this eye and these things and these insights. Yeah, so there's a lot of that in our space, especially as African, especially as Ugandan. I definitely think there's an aspect of the cultural aspect, the way how we were raised, our communities, even religion, that contribute to how we think of women. And I think the key question, maybe we're going to touch on that, because I know you started with the now. The key question would be, how do we, because this is not a conversation on how to be more masculine, and I think that's often misunderstood. So the question I would say, maybe for the audience, and that I continue to ask myself, is how do we embrace our femininity without undervaluing ourselves? Selling ourselves even more and creating opportunities for ourselves that are strongly aligned to the power we have and the skills we have and the value we want to add.
Wow, very well spoken, Paula. Thank you so much. You shared something that reminded me of the very first time I attempted to do a sports show. And I'm really big, I'm like a very huge basketball fan, like to the point of like knowing names, height, and almost everything that there is to be known, But when I did go and sent through my demo to radio station X, I will not mention, when I went there the first time and I said, I would like to do a sports show, they were like, girls don't do sports shows, like, what sports do you know, like there was just that look the whole room gave me of, you must be joking, right? Like you're here to do like a night show or like news. And then when I sent through my demo, there's just that the aftermath of, is that you? On like, and to think that that someone cannot, maybe the society fails to see us a certain way, even when you are 100% excellent on that other thing, that you're not, for lack of a better word, what they are accustomed to knowing you for. So it was quite intriguing, and that was such an interesting memory to have. Anyways, so that then, moving ahead, and I know we've spoken about the now, what's happening now, and Gladys has shared something in the chat, which is actually true. Like a woman today who is ambitious, who's driven, who, is goal-oriented, today is frowned upon because they're just like, yo, you're too materialistic. Why are you so eager for these earthly things? Why don't you fight for the crown in heaven? And you're like, what? So, maybe just to bring it to the now, and I know the different people that are on the call today, both gentlemen and ladies, I think are looking to understand, how do we demystify, how do we deconstruct this conversation about women and money? There's been some proven research, that goes ahead to show that women have, over the years, saved on average at least 10% more than men. Women have at least 90% more discipline when it comes to money, more than men. But as is, they are not necessarily paid the most. So moving ahead, how do we break down this conversation concerning women and money? How, as let's say, maybe let's bring it to the reality of things. A woman on this call today, who maybe is working at a certain place X, and has maybe worked over a certain period of time, and maybe they just need to have a conversation about maybe a promotion, say about maybe salary increment, or maybe a lady X is looking to join a certain job X, but is at a phase of negotiating a contract, but feels that the money they're offering is not really of the value that they bring to the table. What kind of advice can we give to that particular person on this call right now to break down and demystify this conversation concerning money, especially women? I'll start with you, Annette, because you are in the human resource area, so you know how to juggle this conversation. By the way, Annette, you're the people who come in interviews, you already know how much money you're going to give us.
Exactly. That is true. And usually the question is, so how much do you expect to be paid for this position? That is always part of the interview or part of the questionnaire. But to answer your question specifically, the guidance I usually give to many people is know your value. That is the first thing, because any number can be put out there. But like Paula said, do you know your value? You know, do you know the value of your time, the value of your education, the value of what you're going to give to this project? So that even when someone is undercutting you, you're able to say, you know, comfortably, you know what, Joanita, for the value of my time and expertise, I do feel that is way below. Could we negotiate better terms? But if you're always cowering at the table and taking whatever handouts are given to you just because you want to get the next big thing or the next gig, then people will definitely walk over you. And this is not only about women, even men. I've seen men who do not know their value. You should be able to know as you go into the room, this is what I'm going to give, this is my cost, and you know, this is the benchmark. Because right now, if you're talking about pay, there is a benchmark, there is a range, and you don't have to give a ballpark figure. I could say, you know what, Joanita, for this engagement, it's a 2-month engagement, I can work with you within the range of 15 to 20 million comfortably. And say, you know what, come back to me with a scope of work and we will negotiate. But don't just cower and say, okay, I'll do. Maybe I'm thinking that just doesn't come across as someone who is, you know, knowing their value and worth. So know your number, even as you go into that engagement, do your research and be firm. If it does not fulfill your costs, your purpose, walk away from it comfortably. Yes.
Wow. Know your value. That has stayed with me. Know your value, the value of your time, the value of the experience you bring on the table, and the value of, you know, just basically who you are. That's really, really insightful. And thank you so much. Yes, Aretha, I know you tapped on a couple of things, and I've seen here your message. You say, yeah, you must direct your ambitions to very specific things only. Could you enlighten us on that?
So I think that was in response to the general perception in our society towards ambition for women. It's you know, seen as, just like you described it, like it's this bad thing, like you're an anomaly. And so of course what naturally happens is you do not want to show that, you know, when you come to the negotiating table. But I think for me, the one mindset change that I guess helped me, and in some ways it's depending on how you choose to look at it, just understanding that, just like Annette said, it's a world thing, right? First and foremost, it's the human condition for someone to try and get the best deal that they can get from you, right? It's necessary for businesses to survive. But if you look at yourself as a business or a brand and realize that you are your only and you are your greatest advocate, nobody's coming to speak on your behalf. Nobody's coming to negotiate on your behalf. And while it might be initially comfortable, just like anything else that is initially uncomfortable, the more you do it, the better you get at it. and the more comfortable you'll become with that discomfort about having the money conversation. And this really trickles into every sort of any kind of negotiation that you will have, you know, in your business with your clients, for yourself if you're employed, in your family if you hold a certain, you know, position or set of responsibilities. You need to be able to advocate for yourself, because no one is going to do that for you. And I think when you realize that and you understand what is at stake, you will, I think, start to embrace the inevitable. Otherwise, you will always be shut out. And I think another thing again that I would say, and Paula somewhat touched on this, and I think we need to constantly remind ourselves that as women, we are not looking to be like men. There are certain attributes that we can learn from, that we can learn from our male peers, but you realize that most of those attributes are not because they are men. It is because they have been in that field or that sector more, so they understand these skills better. And so to them, it appears like it comes naturally, but it does not come naturally to a lot of men. They have just had more practice and more time to do it over and over again until it appears effortless. And so we should not feel like if I am like this, I will be perceived like a man, right? And I think for our male colleagues and our male peers, there also has to be that conversation about how many of these qualities you have in a workplace, in a business, are actually innate to you. And many of them will tell you honestly, they are. I learned them on the job. It does not necessarily, it's not me, it's not me. And those things that are naturally a part of them, you would know and see them in or out of the workplace. But embracing that and knowing that that does not make you, I don't know, you know, manly or whatever, and it does not take away from you as a woman. You are simply growing a skill set. You know, that's another arrow in your quiver that you can use if and when you need it. So don't shy away from some of these supposedly male attributes. It's a skill set, really. It's just a skill set. So it's just been learned, and we too continue to learn it, improve it. And I think later on, we are also going to touch a little bit on the realization that the workplace, many workplaces as we experience them, and this is in and outside the corporate environment, have been built for men, because for the longest time, they were the only people in those workplaces. So even for us, as we become more and more engaged in work that is outside the domestic sphere, we should be able to inject, you know, policies and create environments that make it easier for us to thrive, instead of, you know, trying. And I think that will also involve breaking down some of the systems that are there now, because they're serving all of us, not men, not women, right? And so we need to have more in-depth conversations and take action around rethinking what the workplace is today, and figuring out how we can, again, create those equalizers, create that equity, right?
So. Thank you so much, Aretha. Last but not least, Paula. Before we jump into our scenarios.
I would like to build on what I earlier said, and what Aretha said. I've said that like 3 times. Aretha's going to be like, why are you tying on my points? But
Mama, you have to tie on people who say clever things.
Yes, I tie. No, if the points are good, you have to tie.
You know?
Yeah, but I want to build on what she's saying. Men have had practice not just when they entered into the workplace, not just when they were at university, not when they were at school, but even from how they were raised, to take charge, to talk to people, to convince people, to sell to people, to persuade people, to stand in the front, stand up straight, while we are told to, as women, to go in the back and to cover. So all that, our whole lives practice. And it's so important when we're talking about equity and value and communicating value to say, again, we are not proposing to be men or like men. I know many women, many powerful women, embrace their femininity, see the power in that, and even know that the value that they contribute is because they are women. So I think that's an important disclaimer. That being said, this conversation of knowing value and expressing value is really, really interesting. We can't run away from the way how things are now world over, all of the biases that are there. And so a mistake that I used to make often, that I hope I make less of now, is being so focused on expressing the value I bring. And being a good performer and recording everything in the email so it's on the record. And I think there were so many other things that I was missing. There's a Ugandan lady who works for a multinational company, and I've learned this from her, I think, from the end of last year. And a lot of even the scenario that you painted involves the woman going to the HR, going to her boss and asking for permission. I think even in that posture of asking for permission, asking for a raise, if you're already in an established organization, in and of itself, it puts you in a lower negotiating position. And many times men don't ask. They either demonstrate, or they persuade, or they simply just take. And that's something to learn from them, again, keeping in mind that we are women. Things like, if you're hitting a wall with the HR or your boss, you do good work, you create good value, there's outputs and deliverables that are contributing to the growth and the impact of your overall organization, then make it visible. Say it in the board meeting, let your team members say it. So again, women run away from visibility. And I think personally, that's a mistake. That's a way to get the promotion to come to you. Be strategic. So figure out what's the most important thing for your organization that you and your team, or if it's just if you're leading yourself, that you can work on. What are the outputs you can directly contribute to? And so you can make sure that those outputs are tied directly to your work. Learning how to sell yourself, learning how to work with people. I think men do that so well. We call it networking, but it's more than that. I remember being on a project, sending emails, saying what's wrong, trying to find out the next steps, creating the agendas. And so towards the end, I realized all of the men go to play basketball. Like, they meet and they talk and they relax and they hang out and they build that trust. And whilst with a child or with a family, it might not be possible for you to do that. It might not even be appropriate, and that's another thing. But maybe you can go to the project office twice a week in the morning, take people breakfast, walk into their offices, ask them how they're doing, find out how the bosses are feeling about the project. All those kinds of soft pedaling things that make it easy for you then to build trust and advance yourself and the value you create, and have them think of you and put you forward. So whether fair or unfair, those are things that at least I know I previously didn't consider, that are so important to advancing ourselves and creating opportunities for ourselves that men do, that we might not do as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Paula. Very, very well explained. So we have 30 minutes to go. We have one scenario that I'd love for us to go through. And therein, we'll jump straight into our trivia before we ask some final remarks from our panelists. So here's the scenario. And again, please feel free to jump in, especially our audience, if we're from wherever you're listening in from, please feel free to just text or type, what you would do in this scenario. We're painting a scenario and we just want to hear from you guys, but we'll also allow our guests to share as well. So here's our scenario. There's a wonderful lady called Sonia. She recently joined a reputable international organization as an intern. Now, during a work engagement, her boss makes an advance by inviting her out on a date. She tries to keep the conversation to strictly work-related questions, but her boss persists on a daily basis by sometimes even touching her inappropriately and explaining how attracted he is to her. Sonia is afraid of this situation because it will affect her opportunity within the organization. What should Sonia do? Should Sonia leave? Should Sonia report? Should Sonia go on the date with her boss? What would you do in this scenario? Let's start with Rita. If you could keep it short.
Yeah, so I think for a workplace, especially when you're new, she's part of an international organization, so I'm sure there are probably some rules that either accept that or don't accept that. So normally I think there are certain guidelines that are put in place. I think where the risk is where you enter a place where there are no guidelines as to how to handle that. Those are the people that are more at risk and really the women that need to be safeguarded. Overall, it's always something that you should really approach with a lot of wisdom, because, and if you can, in many cases, being as you're the subordinate person, you don't always have the strength, if you will, to counteract a lot of that. And it is more common than we actually speak about. There are very many cases that don't get reported. Many of them end up in violent assaults and things of that nature. And I think those are sort of the problems also that, have been raised about the hostility in the workplace, where a person cannot speak, a woman cannot speak against something like that without, a lot of the backlash, if you will. But in this case, I'd say for her, it just seems like, you don't come to a table where you are not at an advantage. So in this case, she does not necessarily have enough teeth in that organization for her to put herself in that compromising situation. So I'd say first and foremost, Sonia, do not go on that date. At least not at this juncture where you have just joined the organization. Let's start there. Do not create situations that can be left to interpretation. I think that's normally a good rule of thumb when you're joining an organization, a new environment, new job. Just don't put yourself in a situation where your actions might be left to interpretation. Then I'll leave it to maybe Annette can give us more ideas on how to appropriately handle that.
Yeah, Annette, please share.
What Aretha said is very correct. Highly unfortunate situation for Sonia. What would she do? And for me, going through this scenario, it's even asking myself as an employer, apart from putting it in policy, what awareness does Sonia have, or how is she empowered to do a pushback on this situation, but also to report and ensure it? I mean, today it could be happening to her, it could be happening to somebody else. So what support structures can she utilize aside from the HR, aside from maybe if they have a whistleblowing policy or even direct confrontation, because oftentimes the victim will not put themselves in that situation. They will just back off. But if this is your direct supervisor and it's happening daily, you have to have an interaction with that person. It's highly uncomfortable working in that place. So she needs to look out for a channel to do a pushback, report, and end, because that is direct abuse. It has to end. That's the guidance I would give Sonia. And also for her not to feel that she brought this onto her. It could be a girl, it could be a boy, but oftentimes the victim feels maybe it's my dress code, maybe it's me who's inadequate. But no, you do have a right to be in that role and to do your work comfortably. So push back, report, end the abuse. Do not take it. Yes.
Certainly. All right. So we're gonna do one more question, and then we'll jump into our trivia. For those that are excited to take part, we'll be sharing a link, or I'll be walking us through how that's going to happen. So in less than 5 minutes, I'm going to encourage our panelists to share with us, who is your personal champion of equity, and what can we, as the people that are listening in right now, learn from them? Who is your personal champion of equity, and what can we learn from them? Looks like Paula has dropped off, so we'll go ahead to start with you, Annette. Annette, your microphone is muted. Aretha, can you hear me?
So, Jonita, I can hear you. I think it's Annette that I didn't hear.
Yeah, I didn't catch what she said. You could go ahead to respond while I think she works on her connection.
Okay. I hope you can still see me. So I think for me, I would say I would not narrow it down to one single person. I feel like over the years, actually, if I had to pick a person, I would say my first manager on my first real job. And I say that because he was the first person, I think, being the first person that I worked with, like as a hiring manager, but I really saw how committed he was to creating a good work environment, but also making sure that the things that I worked on were things that were setting me up for the next level. And he actually took time to understand where I was strong. And I think that was the first person that I worked with that wasn't so focused on the things that I did not do well, but was hyper focused on the things that I did well, and forget about the rest. And I think for me, it was really a learning, because I felt like, oh, the next time, if one day I have somebody working with me or for me, I want them to really feel like, as the person that they are, reporting to or directly working with, they have an advocate. I had not experienced that in a workplace, and I have also not seen it in very many workplaces outside of that first job. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of organizations. But yeah, I think for me, and he was way ahead of his time, I would say. Before it was, cool to be hiring women in tech and all of that, he was very, very focused in making sure that now that you are here, how do you succeed? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aretha. Shout outs to your boss, whoever that is.
Yes, he continues to be one of my my mentors. So it's really one of those relationships that started professionally, and we've really continued to have that kind of like a mentorship that has also become a friendship. So yeah, glad to have someone like that.
Thank you so much for sharing, Aretha. Paula, you've come back. Good to have you back. We're just answering our last question, which is, who is your personal champion of equity, and what can we learn from them? If you just go ahead to respond and keep it brief.
Oh, wow. Personal champion of equity. Didn't prepare for this, but off the top of my head, Off the top of my head, personal champion of equity would just be someone who I have considered to be an advocate, and lend what I don't have where I'm missing it, so I can get to the next level. And without being, cliche or whatever, I would say that person is my mother. She has been a champion all throughout my life, but more so even in my career. I think it's more compelling because what we do is different. Our temperaments are different. How we think is different, but she has remained my ultimate advocate, which I don't know if you experienced the same, Joanita, or if the other women on the call experienced the same, but I found to be hard. I found it to be hard to get to meet, find, acquire genuine advocates who advance you not just where you're not, but who can even be so generous to give you opportunities that they thought that were best suited for them, that they realize are more suited for you. And of course, that's on the extremely generous side. But my mom has done that throughout my entire career, all the way to, and I don't know if I should say this publicly on a recorded session, but all the way to reading emails and checking tone and, being in the background of some calls and sharing her opinion and reading 53-page bid applications. And there's not a single thing that I would ask her on there that she would not read, and finding the 2 typos in a 4-page email, that kind of thing. And I think I wouldn't not only be here, but even in this call and doing what I'm doing, building what we're building, without her and everything that she has done to give me more of an equal playing field to contribute.
Wow, thank you so much, Paula. Shout outs to your mommy. We appreciate her. Indeed, we appreciate her. Thank you so much for sharing. And last but not least, Annette, your personal equity champion.
Sorry, Joanita, I hope you can hear me. Aliyah, I think I had a problem with my connection. I'm just going to keep it brief, but Chiki, I have 3, unfortunately. So just quick highlights. My parents, being strength, the people you ask, corrections, anything, any question, anytime, like Paula said, reading scenarios with you, they're that mirror in front of you every time and picking you up every time you fall or you need support. Definitely my parents would come first. Second is my boss, Elizabeth Ntege, a woman of strength. I mean, if you've done wrong, she will give it to you straight. If you've done right, she will give it to you straight. And she nurtures, she sees things forward, she pushes, she's always driving things forward. Third, but not least, and this is a woman I have met recently through my BPW networks, Dr. Maggie Chigozi, a wealth of knowledge, truly a pillar of strength in this community, always willing to share ideas, always willing to give information. I mean, for someone of her stature, the fact that you can pick up the call and she'll willingly give you information, do the follow-up, give you feedback. Those are the 3. Sorry, I know you asked for 1, but I just had to mention.
No, certainly. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I've had the privilege of meeting Elizabeth Ntege, and yes, she is everything you've said. She is super straightforward. Goodness, for someone, anyways, if we're having conversations about value, knowing the value of your time, knowing who you are, she is an amazing example. She commands a room when she gets into it. So I'm 100% on that. Thank you so much, Annette. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to jump into our quiz. And like I shared earlier at the start, we do have some giveaways. Consider it Zeno Egahude type situation, but you have to earn this Kugabula. So we're going to take a short quiz. And it's going to be really brief. As is any trivia, you will have only 30 seconds to answer a question. There are 12 questions. You have 30 seconds to answer it. Juanita is going to share on the screen our leaderboard, and each one of you will know how you're performing. Give it a go, try your luck. You never know, it may be your lucky day. Our giveaways, we have some vouchers, some meal vouchers, we have some Zeno merchandise, and a lot more to come. So Juanita, when you're ready, please let us know, and then we'll go ahead to get started. Juanita has dropped a link in the chat. Go ahead to click that link. I strongly advise you to use your name, okay? So use your name when you're signing in so that it's easy for us to know who you are, okay? There's also a link that allows for you to sign in. So when you do go ahead to sign in, please use your name on Slido. The application is called Slido. Go in there, click the link, and start answering the questions. We'll be seeing how each of you are performing on the leaderboard. Again, to remind you, you have just 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds for each question, and there are 12 questions. Juanita has shared her screen. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. We're happy to walk you through as we go along.
Maybe we could ask if there's any questions just to see if everyone is ready. Could they type in the chat that they're ready? And then we'll be able to start the quiz.
Yes. So if you are ready, just give us a thumbs up if you're at the place where you're supposed to be. You could give us a thumbs up, then we can go ahead to start.
Awesome.
All right, I see some thumbs ups have started coming in. We'll allow for like another 30 seconds. Is everyone there? Please, again, to remind you, sign in using your name so that it's easy for us to track who you are. Paula says she's ready. Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, our trivia starts now. Ladies and gentlemen, our trivia starts now. Ooh. All right. Here we go. We have 12 people so far. 13. Oh, there's some questions here. Even me, I'm like, who is this? Oh, wow. This gift is not for me today. All right, keep it going, guys. Keep it going. You're almost there. 12 questions. You just have to choose the most correct answer that you think is the right one.
Awesome. Great. I love that everyone is answering. Let's go on to question 3. Those are the lighter questions. So now we're going into the more challenging questions. Those are the lighter questions. So now we're going into
Right. Are we there on question 3? Okay, 24 votes are in. Okay. Oh, by the way, gentlemen, you're also encouraged to take part in case you're interested, please. By the way, gentlemen, you're also encouraged to take part. Okay, question number 4. Are we still on question number 3, Joanne?
Sorry, we're on question number 4. Which sustainable development goal adopted in 2015 aims to achieve gender equality and empower women and girls? So yes, please go ahead.
Again, just to remind you, we have 30 seconds for each question. You're all doing well. All right.
All right, nice. 18 votes for that one. So I think people are still checking and finding their answer.
Start checking Google. We are seeing you. We are seeing you. You're checking Google. All right, question number 5. The first elected female president of an African country previously ran for elections but lost in 1997. Is it Ellen Johnson? Is it Joyce Hilda Banda? Is it Sylvie Kininji or Samia Suluhu Hassan?
Fantastic. 25 people are in.
25 in. Okay, next question. Question number 6. Question number 6. She held 2 positions in public service in Uganda, transforming the organizations with integrity, commitment to fighting corruption, while her leadership earned her mostly praise. At one point, it was discovered that a grenade was planted under her car. Hey, fire. Who wanted to kill who? Okay. Keep going, keep going. All right, 22. We have 22 responses on that one. Okay, we'll move on to question 7. Question number 7. This world-renowned writer portrays the changing political environment through the eyes of the young protagonist, Tambuzai. How? This is not English. Tambuzai. Okay, on to question number 8. Question number 8. Right, question number 8 says this Kenyan activist was awarded Nobel Peace Prize in 2007 for her efforts in promoting sustainable development, democracy, and peace. Was it Lupita Nyong'o? Was it Grace Ogot, Phoebe Asio, or Wangari Maathai? Awesome. We have 26 in. Okay, moving on to question number 9. Question number 9. It says, she's a qualified surgeon. In August 2013, she was appointed by the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon as the United Nations Special Envoy for HIV/AIDS in Africa. All right. I think it is special Zakabi. But don't let me mislead you. Thing is, general writing. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Question number 10. Moving on to question number 10. This mid-distance runner raised the Uganda flag as the world champion in Doha in 2019. This mid-distance runner raised the Uganda 1 second on the clock. Okay, time's up. Question number 11. Question number 11.
Okay, still putting together the results for that.
Hmm.
Let's see.
Okay, question number 11 is she's the first African woman to sit on the International Criminal Court of Justice, a position she has held since 2011. Question number 11 is she's the first African woman to sit on the
All right. 27 people. Okay, and our last question, question number 12.
All right, our last question. This female artist initially planned to become a human rights lawyer, but ended up studying music. Today, she is a 5-time Grammy Award winner. I wonder. Oh, I wonder who it is. 3 seconds on the clock. 1 and time. All right, that's it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for those that have participated in our trivia. Joanita is going to go ahead to show us the results, and we'll know our first 2 winners. Prizes will go to the first 2 winners who had the most correct answers. All right.
All right, so let's check out the correct answer for our first question. Yes, 82% of people said she fasted for 3 days and 3 nights. And yes, 82% of them were correct. It was Queen Esther.
Hey, who picked Marie Antoinette, you guys? That's the lady who refused to give people. She said, if you don't have cake, you eat bread. You know? Yes, glad that's true. Okay, so if you're, yeah, okay, so the next one was who was the lead female character in the movie with a genie, a flying carpet, and a lamp? 54% of you said it was Jasmine, 17% of you said Cinderella, some of you said Mulan, some of you said Moana. Actually, yes, the correct answer is Jasmine. For those that have watched animations, the movie is called Aladdin. I'm sure many of us are familiar with the Aladdin movie. I hope so. All right. In which year did Uganda hit more than 30% women representation in parliament for the first time? Many of us put 2011, but it was actually 2001, and only 12% of us got that. Be marking yourself. Remember the things you selected. So let's go. Question number 4. Which sustainable development goal adopted in 2015 aims to achieve gender equality, and empower women and girls? That's goal number 5. For those that were still Googling, you missed the question. That's how we almost have only 18 people. But yes, 61% of you got the right answer. Goal number 5. For those that were still Googling, the first elected female president of the African country previously ran for elections, but lost in 1997. Yes, the right answer was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. And 52% of you got that correct. Well done, well done, well done. The next one was, yes, she held 2 positions. Yes, and someone tried to kill her by putting a bomb under her car. Yes, true, that is Jennifer Musisi. And 23% of you got that correct. I speculated Catherine Bamgemere, but then, yeah, I think I also would have gotten that wrong. Okay, question number 7. The world-renowned writer who portrays the changing political environment through the eyes of a young protagonist. Yes, it's TC. I don't know the other name. I won't even begin to attempt to pronounce it. Yeah, but yes, 26% of you got that correct. Well done. I hope you're marking yourselves, friends, to see how you have performed. Question number 8. The Kenyan activist awarded a Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 was Wangari Maathai. Lupita Nyong'o, friends, she has never received a Nobel Peace Prize. Why? Why would you select her? Okay, I know she's famous, but I don't know why. Anyway, let me Kuniga, even me, I didn't know. Even me, I didn't know. So yeah. All right, next question. Question number 9. She's a qualified surgeon in August 2013, appointed the United Nations Secretary. Yes. It's actually Special Akaziwe. I literally speculated on that question. Oh my God, wow. She's a qualified surgeon. I did not know that. Okay, yes. So I don't know if any of you is shocked like I am, but wow. She is a surgeon. Okay, so the question, yes. So if any of you picked Special Akaziwe, well done. Only 15% of you got that. Many of us speculated Winnie Byanyima because she has a bit of a UN history, but wow, that was an interesting one. All right, next one is the mid-distance runner who raised the Ugandan flag as world champion in Doha. Yes, for those that picked Halima Nakai, you were correct. It was, yes, it was her. People, Queen Abenacho is Miss Uganda. She doesn't run. Shouldn't run to save her life. So yeah, no. Well done for those that picked Halima, 48%. Our next question is, she's the first African woman to sit in the International Criminal Court of Justice, a position she's held since 2011. Yes, those that picked Julia Siltinde are correct. And of course, 78% of you picked her. Well done. Hey, who picked Rebecca Kadaga, honestly speaking, you people? She's not a judge. I know what, let me not judge. Pun intended. Okay, the first female artist initially planned to be a human rights lawyer, but ended up studying music. And today she's a 5-time Grammy Award winner. Yes, if you picked Angelina Kidjo, you are correct. 27% of you picked her. Hey, someone picked Beyonce. Beyonce? Okay. All right, so Janita, can we see our results? The moment of truth. Drum roll, please. Patricia. Patricia Opoka, well done. And in under 2 minutes and 41 seconds, you were done with the quiz. Good job. Very well done, Patricia. Paula really? Why? Why in this life? The Lord is seeing you, Paula. The Lord is seeing you. Well done to each and every one of you that took the quiz. Wow, these are fantastic results, guys. Well done. Oh, Kyla is saying, why isn't it showing? Oh, sweetie Kyla, let's see where you are. Can someone see Kyla? Where is Kyla? Kyla is saying, why isn't it showing that I didn't vote for most of them? Did I tap something wrongly? Kyla, let us check. John, can you see Kyla?
I will have to scroll down. Let me see. I don't want to show everyone because.
Oh, Kyla, there you are. Kyla, you're number 26.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyla, you got some personal results. These ones are really, really personal. They're just only for you. Yeah. Well done, everyone. Thank you so much for taking part in the quiz. Patricia Opoka, very well done. Congratulations to you. You are our trivia winner. We're going to be taking your details right before we leave the call. You have won yourself a meal voucher, proudly sponsored by Zeno. And you'll be also winning yourself some Zeno merchandise. Very, very, very round of applause for you. I'll clap for you since we can't unmute everyone. Well done, Paul. And then Paula Mugisa. Hey, John, what are the rules? Does Paula get to win? But anyway, she participated she participated fairly. So Paula, you get to win yourself as well a meal voucher from Zeno as well, including some Zeno merchandise. Huge congratulations to you. I also see Grace Asianat. I hope I've pronounced that well.
Ashanut,
And we
yes.
also have Gladys. I hope this is not you, Gladys, because
We're going to disqualify Gladys.
we are genuinely going to do. I beg Gladys, we are seeing your tricks, or you found us looking. Caught you. Well done though. I see Lillian there as well. Lillian got a whooping 6 and Brenda as well. Very well done, guys. Super proud of you. I really love that you have done it in the shortest time possible. And this is, again, our very first trivia. So I'm glad that it has gone the way that it has gone. So we have a few minutes. I'm going to ask very kindly that we encroach on your time by at least 10 minutes. So for us, so that we can close well. Semaji Baram is saying he's not seeing his name. Baram, it's okay. If you're not seeing your name, it could mean one of two things. Either you got very personal results that we have to look for them, or maybe we just need to refresh and see how you fared. Okay, ladies, just before we close, we've got 2 questions, and I think I'd love for us to go through those pretty fast. One of the questions was about investment, so I will ask that we answer your question. You did not leave our names, you are anonymous, but we will respond to you privately because, please, of course, in the interest of time, we would love to maximize the time as much as we can for the topic that we were actually handling. But thank you so much for your question. We have seen it, we received it, and we respond to it. So here's the question that someone had shared, and I will figure who will respond to that. Someone says, a very good evening to the panelists. My question to them is, currently due to the woman emancipation, women have been brought to the forefront of all sectors, for example, here in Uganda. Many are now ministers in the 11th Parliament, but then they have turned out to take it as privilege to abuse office. Currently, the Parliament is battling many scandalous acts in the different ministerial offices. If the privilege given to the women have been, or the privileges given to the women have been withdrawn, would the blame be brought back to men since they have mishandled offices? I think I will ask Annette to respond to this. Again, you're the people person, so you probably are best positioned to respond to this.
Okay, thank you for that question. I think the blame for me is not gender specific. It's down to the society accepting the corrupt individual or, the things that are going wrong. So this would not be gender specific per se, but it is us as a society accepting some of the mistakes. And we do accept that in a position of leadership, things may not be perfect, but what is the recovery? What are the measures in place to ensure this one does not happen again, but then full accountability is held? So I would bounce back the question to the anonymous attendee who posted it and said, what are we doing as a society to address these issues as they come up? Because this clearly cuts across woman, man, corruption is corruption. I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Thank you so much. Yes, we are very fast spent on our time, 10 minutes in, but thank you so much. I would love to extend my gratitude to each and every one of you fantastic ladies. Thank you so much for giving of your time, of your wisdom, of your knowledge. There's so much experience that you all bring to the table, and I hope that everyone that has attended today has managed to grasp at least 1 or 2 things. In case you'd love to have a conversation with any of these ladies, please go ahead to reach out to us on any of our Zeno platforms, and we'll see to it that we connect you in one way or another. Please bear in mind that the heart behind why we do the things that we do, especially as Zeno, is to ensure that there is indeed financial freedom for each and every one of our clients. So if you're here today, you're looking to save, you're looking to plan for your future, you want to set some goals, especially as women, I strongly advise us to take some time. Visit the Zeno website. You can set up a meeting. We would be super happy to give you some advisory services for free. just to walk you through the journey that you can start today. Ladies, thank you so much. If you have missed this, or for those that would love to recommend this conversation to any of their friends, please go ahead to let them know to check out any of our social media platforms, and they'll be definitely certain to find all the information that they require from there. Most importantly, please visit any of our sites, like, share, subscribe, follow us for any subsequent information that you may need concerning investment, concerning saving and investing wisely. And again, we do not take your time for granted. So thank you so much. Until next month, please look out for our webinar on SACCOs, investment groups, retirement schemes. If you're in any of those groups, please make sure to attend next month's webinar. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be informative, but we'll also be walking you through some products that Zeno has put together for you. Thank you so much again. God richly bless you. For those that have been able to join us. For the winners, please stay on the call. We'd love to take your details so that we are able to let you know steps moving forward. Aretha, Paula, and Annette, God richly bless you. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Juanita. This is Zeno. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Juanita.
Thank you.